Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. I want to make sure my settings are all right. Okay. So, January 1st, 2023. I am still waking up a little bit. I would like to say there was a crazy. Actually, I wouldn't like to say there was a crazy New Year's party. I don't really care about New Year's, but there wasn't really any kind of party. I was actually traveling. I went to San Diego for a few days, just got back, and I have that post-trip exhaustion, so I just was up a little late, but then crashed hard and slept in. So I brought my pot of coffee to the show. Anyway, let's see. Oh, Paul, how's it going? It's good to see you. Happy New Year. So, update, and then I thought I would talk a little bit about New Year's stuff today. Plans for 2023. But so, update, D versus M 1979 update. Even with all the holidays and aforementioned San Diego trip and all that stuff, I'm actually right on track because I'm the real deal. But anyway, no, I just stayed on. I made sure to work where I could so I didn't lose any ground. So I have finished page 46. I am supposed to be, by my schedule, without holidays, like if I was just doing the normal clockwork routine, I should be starting page 47 on December 31st yesterday, and I'll be starting it today. Not bad. Not bad given the fact that I actually planned this holiday season very poorly in terms of comic work, in the sense that I didn't plan for it. I kind of just, the dictator in me when I was laying out the schedule is like, whatever, page a week. Doesn't matter if Thanksgiving's happening. Doesn't matter if Christmas is happening. Doesn't matter if you're having people over for Christmas Eve. Doesn't matter if there's a San Diego trip in there. Whatever, page a week. And I did, and drawing your own holiday card. And I had a freelance thing I wanted to do. And there's all this stuff that I did not budget for at all. I just figured I'll just have to squeeze it in. And it made it suck. I am clear of all that now. No holidays coming up, no weird demands on my time. No weird obligations. So it's now it's easy to maintain the schedule. But the past 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, has been a little hard and unnecessarily hard. I made it hard on myself. The learnings from that experience is next time I'm planning a comic, to draw a comic, and I see that there's going to be a period through the holidays, I will build in time off. It's just too much. It's too much. It's too stressful. I did it. It's obviously doable, but it's at what cost, so I'm not doing that again. So that's, I guess, sort of a 2023 plan, because I may be drawing again holidays 23. I don't know. What's really exciting about being at page 46 and starting page 47 is I am just a couple pages away from being into single-digit pages left to draw on D versus M 3 / D versus M 1979, which is crazy. Single digits is a big place to be. That feels really good. That really feels like you're closing in. And I remember when I did 97, I think I did an Instagram countdown when I had the last 5 pages. So each week I'd be 4 pages left, 3 pages, that kind of thing. And that goes fast. I mean, when you think about it, it's 5 weeks. That's a long time. when you're drawing, it seems like it's going fast. Like you really start closing in. It's a funny sensation to be. Since I was just on a plane, here's my analogy. You know, when you're high up, you don't realize how fast you're actually going, you know? But then when you start to get closer to the ground, closer to landing, and you're seeing things like you're getting lower and lower and you're seeing things zip by, that's when you realize how fast you've been going the whole time. That's how it feels like with the drawing. Like, you know, and I've been talking about it here 2 weeks ago, a month ago, 3 months ago. You feel like you're just in this, you're lulled into this weird stasis of just the routine. You know, drawing a page, drawing a page, drawing a page. And you have so many pages to do that it doesn't really feel, not only does it not feel like you're at a good pace, it doesn't even feel like you're making progress. You know, you're sort, I mean, once in a while you're hitting something in the comic where it's like, oh, that's a landmark in the story that I didn't expect to get to, and now I'm there. But it doesn't feel fast. A page a week doesn't feel fast. And I know probably to people waiting for the comic, it doesn't feel fast. But when really turning out a finished comic page in a week when you have a life and it's not your full-time job, it's not a bad rate. It's not a bad clip. But you don't realize it until I notice it at the very beginning, where it seems like you blink and all of a sudden you already have 4 or 5 or 6 pages piled up. Or toward the end when you're closing in and you're seeing how quickly the finish line is rushing up at you. That's when you realize like page a week is not a bad rate. In the middle of it though, so excellent. Excellent. I hope you enjoyed it. So single pages left soon, not yet, couple weeks. A couple more weeks of page. I need to finish page 47. If I did the math right, again, and there's some fuzzy math with the page numbering in this, and that's why it's not as easy as it seems. But page 47, and then the next page, that's, I think, when I'm in the single pages left zone. And I'll probably do a countdown again, not for 10 pages. That's too long. 10 weeks of a countdown is too long. But once I get 5 pages left, I'll probably start calling them out on my Instagram, probably here. Let's see. I'm going to start a new Instagram account, post each page of my new Direct Detective Perez comic as I complete them. What do you think? I think that's great. I think that would be great. I admire that. I admire people like you and what Josh used to do with 2 stories where he was like releasing pages as he finished them. I have a weird block when it comes to that, but I know intellectually that that's a good way to build enthusiasm and get it out there and get people excited to pick up the final thing. I think that's a great idea. I would follow, set it up. Where are you at with the writing? I know you were stuck for a little bit, or maybe you're still stuck. I don't know, but like you were like 2/3 or something, and you kind of painted yourself into a corner. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, the conventional wisdom seems to be that you can't really give too much away. Like either people, like the people who aren't into it, we're never going to be into it, and the people who are into it will end up wanting to buy the book. So I have to. So the reason I don't do that. This is not intended as a counterpoint for you, Paul. This is almost me trying to explain why I don't do that, even though I know it's a good idea. Partly is just a mental block. Like I think I'm last gen when it comes to thinking about that. There's something that just rubs me wrong about just putting out completed work for free. And almost all my creative friends that I really respect do it. I mean, look at Jim. Look at Jim with his YouTube channel, Jim Lujan. You know, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. It's just hard for me. But even if I could get over that, which I could, D versus M is very, I'm a little precious about the spoilers with D versus M. And I just would hate the idea that, you know, I'm spending pages and pages or whatever building to something, and someone could be like, what's this comic? Oh, that sounds interesting, and click in and like immediately jump to something that I'm trying to lay the groundwork and build tension toward for a dozen pages, and like they've kind of just blown up the whole thing. It's the same experience I have when I'm at a con and I'm selling my books, and someone will come up and ask, and they'll be like, oh, that's interesting, and they'll pick up the book and they'll just start like flipping through it from back to front. Like they'll pick it up and just like fan it like this way, so they're seeing like the end of it first, they're working backward. I never say, of course you don't say anything, it's like, you know, and people are free to read however they want, but it hurts my heart. And that's a little bit of where I am with like digitally releasing D versus M in that format, like if I did a page by page format. But maybe it's stupid, and maybe it's also an example of a last gen idea about how this works, and you know, maybe the lesson is don't be me. I don't know. Cool. Awesome. I knew it. I knew it'd be fine. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean I have no argument against. I just, it's a weird hang up, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so what else? Okay, so approaching single digit pages left. Once I get to 5 left, I'll probably start counting it down. That was number 1. What's number 2? I don't know. I don't know if I really had a number 2. It'll come to me. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about 2023. My plans, D versus M wise, and then my plans non-D versus M wise, which are just as important. Okay, so D versus M wise, as I just sort of alluded, we're closing in on getting done drawing D versus M 1979, which is great. It's great to finally really be feeling the light at the end of the tunnel. I think if I maintain the schedule I'm on, but I expect to be able to get ahead in a couple places, but even like this is worst case schedule. I should be drawing the last page of D versus M9, excuse me, D versus M 1979 mid-March. My intention is to have it available to order. Don't hold me to this, but I'll just be, you know, since we're getting close and there hasn't been a dramatic, you know, thing to blow up the schedule, I think it's fairly safe to say. But right now I'm thinking I will probably make D versus M 1979 available to order March 31st. That's I may not even have them in hand yet, but at least at that point I'll have them done and ordered, and I probably will have seen a proof. So I'll feel confident saying like, okay, available to order. Which is about what I always expected. I was telling everyone end of Q3, or end of Q3, Q1, end of Q1, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be end of Q1. Once I draw the last page, 2 things will happen. Well, first, I'll be sort of setting it aside in a sense to concentrate on Well, first, what I'm going to do, and I've already told people this, after I say the last page is done, I'm going to a swanky bar and having a giant fucking cocktail. That's number one. Okay, so then once that's out of the way, then and this is tricky for me to hit my end of March deadline. Normally, I like to set it aside for at least a week and do nothing with it once I finish. Absolutely nothing. Don't even look at it. Just to get a little bit of distance. And then after a week, go back and like start proofreading and, you know, see what, like, oh, I want to tweak that, or I want to rephrase that, or whatever, you know. So I'm going to be doing that, but in a sense, I'm going to completely step away from looking at the drawn pages. Like those are just going to go away. Perhaps, not perhaps, I certainly will. I don't know how many though. I want to find at least one, maybe two people to give it a once over, just to get extra eyes on it. Did I miss a typo? Does this drawing, can you not understand what you're looking at? Like, is there anything? Now, it's too late for big changes. It's too late for like, it would be really cool if you change this about this character. Like that's long past. Like that can't happen anymore. But if there's little things like I don't think this panel is very legible, or I have like the way you phrased this is confusing to read, or something like that. Like that's something I can go back and tweak. So I'll be looking for that. Tangents in the art, weird tweak thing, like things that don't look right. Whatever the thing is. While maybe so now I'm talking this out. I'm sorry this isn't as organized, but I'm sort of figuring this out as I'm talking to you about it. Probably what I'll do is I'll finish the last page. I'll print up a couple copies. I'll pass them to my one or two proofreaders. And then while they're going through them, I'm not going to be looking at it. I'm not going to worry about it. What I will move on to while they're doing their thing is all the non-narrative pages. Like the intro, I always do like an intro that kind of sets everything up and gives you a sense of like where we are in the mythology. There's every D versus M will end with like a fabricated news clipping. It was like the cover story that explained away the events of the comic. There'll be a thank you page that, like it's usually I have one or at least one or maybe two leaked classified documents related to it. At the end. And then the most obvious thing, but I need to do the cover. So that's probably I think that's probably going to have to be how I arrange this is print out the story part, pass that to a couple people to look at to make sure I didn't miss anything, or there's not some obvious problem that I can't see anymore because I'm too close to it. And while they're doing that, I will do all the rest, finish the book, basically. Fire that off. Then at that point, by the time I get that stuff doesn't take very long. Covers and intro, outro stuff and all that I can usually do that stuff in a couple days. I had a vision for the cover of this one almost before I started drawing. So I know exactly what the cover is going to be. That's not going to take long. D versus M covers are sort of minimalist anyway, so they don't take very long. And the backs are almost kind of a form, like the back it'll look the same as the back of any of the D versus M's, just with a different blurb on the back. But that's something I have to write. I haven't written the blurb. Like if you pick up D versus M and read the back to see what this is about, I haven't written that yet. I don't think I'm going to have to come up with any new art for the parental warning, because this one will just be violence and language. I don't think I've got any tobacco, which is weird to me anyway. Like I did it to play it safe. Like I labeled like tobacco use as a parental warning. Do we need that? I don't know. Whatever, man. But I'm doing it just to cover my bases. There's no nudity. And the violence is sort of, or the language is sort of garden variety. It's mostly violence. The violence is pretty gnarly. There's, maybe I want to like note that there's animal violence. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I don't know, but if I do add something, an indicator about that, I'll need a new little icon in the back of. I don't know if I have one next to me. Oh, I do. Okay. D versus M. I've got my parental advisory with these little cutesy icons. So this was 97's. Graphic violence, language, tobacco use. 79 doesn't have tobacco use. Definitely has language. Definitely has graphic violence. The only other thing I can think of off the top of my head is if I want to call out, like, you know, animals were harmed in the story of D versus M 1979. I don't know. Let me check in on the chat. Let's see here. I think people want to have a whole book to sit and read. Yeah, that's an interesting angle. Like it's the teaser, and then once it's up, it's like, hey, now if you want to, I don't know. I think if I ever did this kind of a thing, it would be a teaser. Like it would be the first 10 pages or something. Or, you know, I don't know what number. It would depend on the D versus M, like where I think there's a nice obvious stop. And it's like, okay, if you want to stick with this, now you got to buy, you'll have to buy the comic. I don't know. Yeah. It's true. It's true. No, like I said, I have no argument against, and I know a lot of arguments for, and yet I'm just still not doing it because I'm, you know, I'm old or something. I don't know. This is outrageous. I don't know if this heckling is appropriate. Paul, don't encourage him. Let's hear. Happy New Year, Dee. How many scouts will be killed? There's no child deaths in D versus 7 1979. I wonder, that'll be a good, you know, it was fun. If people remember the run up to 97, I think after I did the countdown, I did a sort of a fun Instagram, the numbers of D versus M 1997, and it was like how many F-bombs Jenny drops and how many you know what, I don't even remember all of them, but I would just go through and like come up with like this happens this many times, this, like coming up with a body count for 79 would be sort of interesting. Because it's, see, I don't know what I want to say without it. I don't want to be spoilery. It's considerable, but most of it is sort of off screen. Like it's implied that, like, you know, but the ones you're actually seeing. I wonder how I would count that. That's fun. I don't know. I'll probably do that again because it was a fun thing to do the countdown and to do like a number related post. Yeah, someone will be triggered by something. I just try to, I am not overly, I try to be very clear. I'm usually very forward about the fact that like this is an adult, this is for mature readers. And even then, compared to a lot of stuff, I don't know about a lot of stuff. In terms of the spectrum of mature content in comics, I don't know. I have no sense, but I don't think it's very, it's not pegged. It's not like Red Room. You know, I think it has its moments, but it's mostly just a very character focused thing. I just tried to add something there, mostly for conventions, because there are a lot of kids, and I want parents to know, you know, it's mostly for me. I mean, some of it is being sensitive to them. Like, I don't want them to accidentally, you know, push a comic toward their 6-year-old that they shouldn't be looking at. But to be honest, between you and me, Dee Dee, it's mostly like, I don't want the hassle. I don't want to deal with some dumbass mom or dad stomping up to my table saying like, I got this, I showed this to my kid, and like there was like an F word in it. Like, I don't want to have that conversation. And if that ever did happen, I want to be able to say like, very clearly on the back, I don't know what to tell you. You know, like I don't want a situation where someone came up and it's like, I just heard dinosaurs and Mars bots sounded funny and silly, and I bought it for like, you know, my toddler. Like, I want some kind of an outward thing saying like, hey, whoa, this is kind of for teens and up. But, oh, wow, that's exciting. Got a lady smoking cigarette, yeah. Just to avoid the drama. Just to avoid the drama. Okay, so, or potential drama. Potential for drama. Where was I? Okay, so people are going to look at it while I'm doing the rest of it, the cover and the intro and outro. And then, yeah, that was the old book. Yeah, the new one, I've been very, very restrained sharing stuff from the new book. I've been trying to do a little bit more panel posting on the Instagram, but I'm always scouring the book for like, what is a completely spoiler free, like it's not going to tell you anything about this that I can just, you know, that still looks cool, that's still something to share, but like it doesn't tell you anything. Now, as we get, I think part of that again is trying to preserve the spoilers and the drama. And I like people to sit down and not know necessarily what this trip is going to be. Like, I find that fun. I find that fun to open a comic and or sit down for a movie or whatever and like, I don't know a lot about this. And so that it's kind of, it adds to the fun of like, let's see where this goes. Like, I have no idea what I'm in for. But there's also, and I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago, Divers M 1979 is going to have a trailer, just like 97 did. And there'll be a lot more glimpses and I think a better sense of what the story is from the trailer. I'm still going to avoid spoilers, of course, because I'm a spoiler Nazi, but I want to, I think the trailer will be fun for people who have been wondering, like, what is this even going to be? I think it'll give you a sense of like the basic elements of this story. And that's another thing I'll be working on. That will be released when I have a link for you to buy or pre-order. So end of March, like expect a trailer to drop with like, you know, that will be sort of announcing like on sale now, basically. What else? That's about it. Once I get the cover and the intro and outro done, and I've gotten any notes back from any proofreaders, I then myself will go through it beginning to end and see if there's anything. And I already know there are things. Nothing major, but like I think I talked about one of the main characters has a wristwatch because it's 70s. Everybody has wristwatches. And I know there are panels where I forgot to draw it. Or like she's wearing something with like, you know, long sleeves, but her arms in a way where you should at least be able to get a hint that there's a watch there and I didn't do it. So like one of the things I know that I need to do is go through and see, like, would you see the watch? Is the watch there? Is the watch there? That's one thing. I also know it's scary when you're drawing. Even if I have someone posing as a reference, you're changing the outfit, you're changing the hair. Sometimes you're changing everything about them. Especially like when you're talking about the aliens. Like I had someone pose for the aliens, and like the guy who posed for it doesn't look anything like, you're changing it. You want to see, like, am I doing this the same way all the time? Is this person's hair the same length on page 7 as it is on page 28? Did I put the skirt length or the jacket length or the collar width or whatever? Is that all consistent? Because you're doing it each time, and sometimes there's this drift where you forget, like, how was I doing this? How big was this? How wide was that? How tall is this person? How you start fudging it a little bit just from, I don't want to say lack of attention, but it's just really hard to be crazy consistent like that. So I'll be looking at that. Those are the things that I'll be oriented towards when I'm going through the book again. Is did I forget to draw things? Like, did I miss a watch, or is there too many buttons on the blouse? Like, what little consistency details. And then it'll be ready to submit to Comics Wellspring. And then I'll get a physical proof, as I always do for the first, anytime it's a new edition. When I do reprints, I don't do proofs, obviously, but the first time I want to see actually, like, that's mostly, first of all, that will reveal errors I did in my page layouts. Like sometimes you can set up the page wrong and it will be shifted in a funny way when it's printed. And that's how you finally see it, is you do it a test print and it doesn't come out the way you expected. The other thing I'll be looking for is, no printer that's reasonably priced is going to be able to print something as razor sharp and perfect as you potentially could be drawing it. So I'm looking for, did I make any choices here that in the drawing that are pushing the limits of the printer? And are some of these lines too fine and they're not going to print right? Or is some of this, like, detail too dense where it just reads as black? Like you're not seeing a lot of the texture I'm putting in there. Like I'm looking for that stuff in the proof. Like was I overly ambitious given the limitations of budget printing? And Comics Wellspring is awesome, and I think their print quality is very good. But you have to be careful, especially if you're zooming in on stuff and working small. Like you can exceed the ability of the printer. Be looking for that. Anyway, once the proof is fine, usually it's fine. I'll see. That's where I'll see if there's any last minute changes to make. Oh, I should, maybe redraw that a little bit, or I set that page wrong, or I submitted it wrong where the pages are out of order, or whatever the weird thing is. If there's any issues like that, you get those scrubbed out, and you say, go ahead and print. And that'll be it. Then I'll just be waiting for them to show up. Price will probably be the same as any of them. Like, it's like $12 or $15. I don't remember what I normally do. It'll probably depend on whether Comics Wellspring's prices have changed at all. Like usually it's based on that. I figure out how much it costs me to print per issue and figure out, okay, this is how much I would like to make off each one. What is shipping? I usually don't try to get too far in the weeds of like shipping costs, because almost all of mine are being mailed. So that means you need a Gemini mailer, and that means you need postage, and that means you need the bags. Like there's all this other stuff that, like, it's like, well, what's the cost of that per unit? What's the cost of that per unit? What's the shipping? And even when I say like, oh, I'll charge you for shipping. Like sometimes I'll have like a $2 shipping thing on Etsy. It depends. I think right now everything's free shipping, but sometimes I'll add it. $2 doesn't cover it. It's just kind of an offset for me. So I got to figure all that out. But the most D vs. Zem 1979 would be like $15. And that's probably with shipping included. There's no way I would ever do 15 plus shipping. That's too much. It is, to be fair, a fat book. Now, sometimes, like, and you'll hear people talk about, like, what should you price an indie book at? And the conventional wisdom is usually like no more than $10. Yes, I agree. Assuming your book is a standard floppy length. And that's usually what they're talking about. So it's not like I hear lots of people I totally agree with. They'll say, like, your indie book should be $5, you know? Probably, if it's 18 pages, you know, and like mine, not in color, yeah, probably. But mine is not 18 pages. This one will be closing in on, I mean, if you count all the intro and outro stuff and all the content you're getting, it's probably it's gonna be it's gonna be low 60 pages. And it's high quality printing on nice paper, you know? So like 15 is very fair. And if you listen to Squat, she'd be saying, like, you should be charging $25. I'm not going to charge someone $25 for a book, but 15 is, you're getting a lot. You're getting a lot of story. You're getting a small graphic novel. You know, you're not getting a floppy. And again, remember, it's an anthology series. You're getting a self-contained, complete little story. It's not, you're never going to read a D vs. Zem where there's this weird cliffhanger. What happened? You know, it's always going to be like, you won't know what went on with the war and like how everything evolved or what happened to that person after this story, like with Jenny or something. But you'll at least, like, this is the story as a beginning and an end. You got the whole thing. You got to experience the whole thing. And now you have one more piece of the puzzle to D vs. Zem. And you feel like you got that. So 15 is fair, I think. Sometimes it's cheaper at a con because I don't have to deal with shipping and packaging. So if you want to come and see me at Phoenix Fan Fusion in late May or June, whenever it is, probably I'll be selling them for 10 or 12 because I don't have to worry about any of the rest of it. I can just hand you a book in a bag and that's that. That's sort of the perk of buying on site. But if you buy online, and again, I got to pay fees, you know, the storefront and all that stuff. It's going to be 12 or 15 or whatever. So that brings me to my next thing. Okay, so now 2023, the comic is done. Comic is printed. I'm selling the comic. Now what? Well, that will be, like I said, end of March. April, it will be like I'll be mailing comics out April. I will probably, just for time, almost immediately pivot to the pulp edition, limited pulp edition cover of D vs. Zem 1979, the new one. It's one I've had a vision of since the very beginning. When as soon as I finalize the script, I know what the pulp cover is going to be. I want that for Phoenix Fan Fusion. So I will probably, it won't be immediately. It won't be like, you know, April 1st start. I might sketch it, but I mean, real earnest work on it will probably be like, well, it'll probably be mid or late April. Because once I do it, that's another thing I'll need a proof for, to see what a physical proof. But that's going to be my next order of business. And then for Phoenix Fan Fusion, also in the run up to that, I got to think about what is my table going to look like. I'm sharing it with the Making Comics guys. I'm a little fuzzy on how much space I'll have, but it'll be, you know, a fair amount. But once I know exactly, like, so how are we dividing this up? Like, what width do I have here? I got to think about a banner. I got to think about what my table's going to look like. I got to think, you got to think about the whole so that's where my attention is going to go after I get 79 out the door and after I get the pulp cover done. It's all going to be about what is my fan fusion strategy. So then I'll do fan fusion. And then, yes, I'll be able to, all of that is letting off the gas compared to what I'm doing now, which is like the constant drawing grind. But then the gas will even be let off more where I think I'm going to, I know I'm going to be pivoting towards two things. The planning and writing of D versus M4, and this is a very modest goal. It's very achievable, but writing is not a thing like drawing where you can set a timeline for it. I can't anyway. Like it's done when it's done. It's right when it's right. Like I don't know, and I would never commit to anything. The very modest goal is I'll have the script totally finalized and I'm delighted with it in 2023. Like I don't know when. I don't know if that'll be like July or October. I don't know, but it'll be. But once I get the convention behind me, I think my intention is going to be turned toward like I want to get that script squared away. And thinking about D versus M Volume 1, which would be the trade compilation of the first 3 D versus M's, and what is the first half of the D versus M story. So D versus M 1975, D versus M 1997, and D versus M 1979 compiled into a trade with probably some extra material. There's always cutting room floor stuff with each of them, like because it's when you're figuring out your page count and how many pages you have and there's room to add and not. Like 97 especially, there was a ton of stuff I had written for that I just scrapped. Like that I like supplemental stuff, leaked documents, and like little bonuses and things. But I just didn't have room because it was a long book. It was about as long as this one. I just didn't have room, and there's a limit to how many pages you can stuff into a saddle stitched book, which is this, like a book that is folded and stapled. I think this is actually the max page count, 97, and 79 will also have this same. It'll be the same thickness. I think you can't add, if you want to go past this, it's perfect binding. That's the kind like this kind of square. So the trade, the compilation will be binding like this. Anyway, I think I want to pivot to that, and I gotta figure that out. That will be in the midst of figuring out the writing of D versus M4. There's a trip I want to take for D versus M4 to do a little bit of location scouting and research. All the D versus M's are sort of the real world, and sometimes they're real world locations. D versus M4 takes place in a forested area northeast of the valley. That I want to go up and photograph the hell out of, just for reference, just to get a sense of like, and so then I'll have this bank of images. I want to take hundreds of images of everything. What do the trees look like there? What do the rocks look like? What does the lake up there look like? What does the terrain look like? I want macro and micro. I want little close-up pictures of what everything looks like, and then big establishing, like, what do the mountains look like? What do the hills look like? What do the roads look like? So no matter what I need when I go to start drawing it, to look at, to kind of get a sense of like, what does this look like? I have every view of this place you can think of. So that's something that's going to happen sometime in 23. I think that's pretty much the D versus M plan for 2023. Now let's see what's going on in the chat. What's the most risque moment in D versus M? Well, the ones that are actually out, I can think of some in the planned ones that will end up being the most risque in D versus M. But for the ones that are out, or this one that I'm working on now, I don't know. Like none of it's risque in that like there's not a lot of the in the midst of a dinosaur Martian secret government war, there's not a lot of room for fooling around. So there's no like sex per se. But in terms of just like what could be construed as sexual material that's sexual in nature or something, I would say it's probably somewhere between. In 75, you have the guy who got gassed by the befuddlers and he's totally hallucinating and he strips all his clothes off, so he's naked. And then, or I know what the most risque moment in D vs. M history thus far is. It's the pulp edition of D vs. M 1975. The cover, you have the female victim from 75 while she's being harassed by aliens. It's a pin-up-y B, like salacious throwback cover. She just got out of the shower. She has a towel that she's covering herself with. That would be the most risque D vs. M moment, I guess. The alien head has survived the cat. And I still don't know. I think Squatch is upset about this, but he's right here. I think I'm gonna have to strip the clay off, because it's not drying clay and it's not clay that you can bake. So this isn't a permanent, like I can't have this forever. It's eventually, like, what am I supposed to do with it? And I might need that armature to sculpt something for the next D vs. M. So it survived the cat, but I don't know if it'll survive me, I guess is the answer. That sounds nice. Yes. Always working. Yeah, Squatch is always upset about something. He's good at being upset. Yeah, so I'll carve the clay off of it, recycle it, and it'll end up being some character in the next D vs. M that I need a maquette of, I guess. So that's the D vs. M 2023 plan for Gary. The short recap is finish drawing this, get it out the door, do the pulp cover for this, get that edition out the door in time for Comic-Con, start writing and finish writing, and be delighted with D vs. M number 4. Start doing the research for D vs. M 4, mostly in terms of the location. And start figuring out what the first D vs. M trade is going to be, like the compilation of the first 3 parts. Like, because like I said, I would like extra stuff in there, and not just cutting room floor stuff, but I don't know. And I don't know. I'll probably end up coming to the community and it's like, what should be in this? Like, what would you want to see? Do you want to see thumbnails? Do you want to see like this kind of stuff? Like my little, I don't know. It's hard for me as the creator who's not that enamored with the minutia of my work to figure out what minutia someone might be interested in. Like, I don't have a sense for that. So my impression is like, no one wants to see this, but maybe they do. I don't know. So yeah, closer to sometime this coming summer, probably, or at worst, like probably autumn, I'll probably be trying to feel out like what would you want to see in a D versus M trade in terms of bonus material. Okay, so that's all that. That's D versus M. What are the rest of my 2023 plans? Which is, again, probably going to be triggering to Squatch, because the idea that there's anything that's not a D versus M plan in my life is probably upsetting. But nevertheless, you need balance in your life. And I've been on the hamster wheel for about a year now, drawing, with very little free time, with very little room to do anything else in my life. And so that brings me to my first goal for 2023. I have piles, I'm looking at them, piles of unread books, piles of unread comics. I feel bad, like this is confession time, and like Scott Circland, if you're watching this now or on the rewatch, I was proud to back, you know, all the variant covers for Young and the Dead. I still have not read even the newest Young and the Dead, which is not a big time commitment, you know? I haven't read anything. I haven't read shit. Like, I've been busy. And usually when I'm not, like, I'm taking a step away, it's either to be busy with something else, like holidays or my day job or a freelance project or whatever, going to the grocery store, you know, whatever. And when I do kind of narrowly see an opportunity, like, oh, I have maybe a little bit of downtime, there's so much stuff piled up. Who knows who's the winner for that 2-hour window or 4-hour window? Like, it's not, you know, I can't get to everything. So there's a pile of books I want to read. I'm going to do a lot of reading in 2023. There's a pile of comics I need to catch up on. I'm going to do a lot of comic reading in 2023. I'm going to play so many video games, you have no idea. There's so many. Talk about the book backlog is something. The video game backlog is unacceptable for someone like me who considers himself a gamer, who loves video games. Movies. I'm going to see so many movies. There's going to be so much entertainment media consumed of every form. Books, movies, music, games, all of it. It's going to be shocking and stunning, and very upsetting for Squatch, I'm sure, because it's not going to be. But this is what I don't expect Squatch to understand this, but I think a lot of you will. That actually is an important part of the creative process. That all becomes the fertilizer that, like, ideas and creative energy and a desire to contribute to the world of art comes from. At least for me, going to a gallery, reading a book, reading a comic, playing a video game, like seeing a movie, whatever, any of that stuff, watching a TV series that people have been telling you about that you haven't had time to watch. I still haven't seen Queen's Gambit. I haven't seen any. It's like I've been on a desert island, you know? There's a couple weird things. Like, I made time for Andor. That's Star Wars. It's high priority. But all that stuff, at least for me, not only is it enjoyable, it makes you want to participate in this in some way. When you see art, when you see other people's art, when you see the other things that other people are making, their ideas, them fumbling at trying to execute their ideas like we all are, them falling short sometimes, them knocking it out of the park sometimes, all of that, it just encourages you to want to participate in that. It's like, that's the thing. I want to put my thing in there too. You know, I want to contribute my thing. I want to get my thing in front of people's. That's all sounding weird, isn't it? I want to get my thing out there in front of people. But you know what I'm talking about. Settle down. Don't be dirty. I'm being serious. I'm being earnest. So I need that. That's a necessary part of this cycle. There's production, and then there's like fertilize. Production, fertilize. I need to go into the fertilize part of this. I need to consume a lot. I need to think about stuff. I need to have experiences. I need to go on trips to the woods to see this place I'm going to be writing about. I need to do some nights away. I need to watch some movies that I've been wanting to see. I need to see some performances. I need to read some books. I need to, like, reseed, basically. After a long winter, I need to get ready to, like, okay, I need to get back in the mind frame of loving art and enjoying art and being inspired by it and wanting to be part of that chorus of artists. I think that's what it's all about. I think at its best, when your mind is in the right place, the motivation for creating should be that there is this thing called art out there. It's a many-faced God. There's all sorts of versions of it. And you just would like to participate in it, even if it's in a small way, even if it's an unnoticed way, even if it's an insignificant way. It's just something that you would like to also, like, do your part with, throw in your thing to add to this giant mass of human expression. And so, like I said, what inspires me to do that is seeing it. And then also, it should go without saying, there needs to be some recreation. There needs to be some pacing. There needs to be some downtime. Like, I've been going, and you can't maintain that forever. Or at least I can't. Maybe some people can. I can't. Like, I know I have a pretty good feel for where my limits are with this stuff, like how long I can be at it in the mines. And that's, I'm approaching it. And the only reason I think I'm managing now, like, what keeps me going, this is just about the length I can do. And the reason I think I feel good at the end is because it's near the end. Like, I'm seeing, you get that second wind of, like, okay, I'm almost there. I can't even imagine, and I would never allow it to happen, but I can't even imagine that if I'd written a script for, like, a comic that's like 120 pages or something, I don't know. I don't think I could do it. I just don't think I don't know if I could sustain that, like, the amount of time without lots of little breaks and vacations or something. I would have to carve that up into chunks. I don't know. But anyway, approaching my limit. I need, more than anything in 2003, more than anything, of, like, catching up on all this media I want to catch up on. Look, I got this whole Akira. I want to go through Akira again. I bought this whole box set. I got a smoking deal on it. One of the masterpieces of manga. And I've like leafed through it. Like, I want to sit down and really study Akira among a million other things I want to do. But more than anything, I just want to do nothing. Just for a little bit. Now, something Jim Lujan and I have talked about a few times is we don't have to set any kind of time limit to get back to it. It will take care of itself. Neither one of us are very good at doing nothing for very long. Even if I told you today, like, I'm going to absolutely do nothing D versus M related, I am on vacation. Not even vacation, sabbatical. I don't know when I'll be back. It's going to be great. I'm just going to sit and watch Netflix and take walks and not think about any of this shit. Even if I said that, which I'm not that extreme about it, but even if I was saying that, I give myself 6 or 8 weeks before I start to feel antsy, where it's like, I need to be working on something. So the cycle takes care of itself, at least for me. Like, there is a point where, and it's shockingly fast. Like, you really feel like, oh, I'm going to love it. I'm going to love this downtime. And way before you would have thought, you're feeling like, maybe I'll just start writing, or maybe I'll just start, like, the new project starts elbowing its way in. Yeah, I know. Look, when you talk off the cuff. But also, look, this is sort of the audience's responsibility. I mean, if you're coming at it with good faith, like you're not hearing it that way. But if you're another sort of personality, if you're another type, yeah, maybe it sounds weird to you. I don't know. Sort of a personal thing. So that's my non-comic 2023 plan, is basically, especially in the run-up to writing D versus M4, take it easy and consume massive amounts of media. Like that's, and I'm really looking forward to it. In terms of when is, and I'm, it's way too early to figure this, to say this with any kind of accuracy, but so when would I be in theory drawing or gearing up to draw D versus M4? I don't know. My suspicion, some of it will be informed by what the script turns out like. If it turns out being a fairly manageable, like a shorter one, and none of them will be short, but like shorter in terms by D versus M terms. What's actually the better way to express this is, I'm less concerned about when I start, I'm more concerned about when I finish. I would prefer to have a D versus M come out every other year. All right. So a D versus M is going to come out in 23. I would like the next one to be out no later than 25. Okay. If I write a D versus M script that's kind of long and it's going to take me a while to draw, and it gets scarier to hit that, not just 25 in general, I would like 2025 in general, I would maybe like it to come out around the same time each year. That would be nice to try and pivot toward that, where it's like early in a year, early every other year, there's a new D versus M until I'm done with this. So when I start drawing, we'll sort of be informed by like, well, how long does the script look? And like, how many pages is this book going to be? And if I'm doing page a week, which I normally do, like working backwards, like when would I need to start drawing it? That's probably what will determine it. So if I write a script for D versus M4, which by the way, I already have like pages and pages of notes, but that's different. An outline in notes is different from an actual script. Like what, and you're making all the decisions that are just ignored in an outline and in the notes. And that's actually where you're seeing like how you get from A to B to C to D, and like therefore how long does this thing end up being? Like what am I taking on here? If it looks like it's going to be another kind of sizable book, then there's a chance I would be drawing D versus M4 later this year, just to get a jump on it, so I can get it out in a reasonable time frame. If it ends up being a script where it's like, oh, this is mercifully short, like this is 30 pages or something, then maybe I would kick the can. It's like, well, I'll get clear of holidays and then I'll start drawing, So I don't know. But what I would like to do this year, like I said, I would like to start the script. I would like to finish the script. I would like to be completely like, this is a final draft. Like I like this script. And I would like to get all my ducks in a row. I want to do once I have the script, I know what's the research I got to do. What are the reference images I need? Like what year is this? What things do I need to see from that year? All the shots of the woods, like the location. This one, there'll probably be a lot of jargon I need to research. I've told you all that it's the military focused one. It's a lot of soldiers, a team of soldiers. I'm going to have to draft somebody. I have a friend in mind who's like, how would a military person say this? Or is there anything I wrote in this that's not how a military person would say it? They would say it instead, like, whatever. So getting that all squared away. There's going to be an equipment question. What kind of weapons are we talking about? And how are they, like, there's just a lot. And then I would like to at least get, ideally, I don't know if this is feasible, right up to the point where I'm ready to draw no matter what by the end of this year. So that means all the decisions made, all the thumbnails, all the page planning, all the research. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start drawing page 1. At worst, by the end of this year. Now, I have just a vibe from 2024 me watching this, sort of rolling my eyes like that was a ridiculous called shot. But I mean, that's at least, I'm not going to try and hold myself to it, but I feel like that's fairly attainable. The only thing that would be hard is I'm going to need a lot of reference shots in this. The rough plan right now is that it'll be 6 guys, like a SEAL Team 6 sort of thing. And there are guys I want to draft, like friends of mine, to use as reference. And coordinating that's sometimes tricky. It's not as fast as you'd like. Like, you got to figure out schedules, and some of them I might travel for. Like, if he's still willing, which I haven't talked to him about it forever, but I've suggested it many times in the past. I wanted maybe Josh Kemble to sit in for one of them. I kind of want to hit up Scott Lost for one of them. So there's and those guys are in California. I would probably travel to them and set up we got to do a photo shoot one of these days. And so that's coordination, and that's where now suddenly it's not as easy. It's not as easy as me just sitting, and blinking, and now I have reference images. There's coordination, there's a trip involved in that case, all that kind of stuff. But that's why getting completely ready to go, as in having all my reference images before holidays this year, might be kind of ambitious. I don't know. But if I could at least get everything else done, maybe I could do it. Who knows? Maybe it'll go swimmingly. Maybe I'll get Con behind me. The script will come out fast. I'll be very happy with it. And all I'll have to do is watch movies and read comics and read books and start putting together my plan for, all my resources, my resource library for D versus M4. Maybe I could knock out all the reference images by the end of the year. But that's kind of the variable. I don't know. That's tricky. Squatch, by the way, is someone that's another person. There might have to be a big LA trip later this year to knock out a bunch of reference images. So, blah, 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 blah. When will I be drawing D versus M 2001 / D versus M4? Probably next year. Which it might sound like a long way away, but when you think of all the things that first I need to finish with this one, and then that I need to do in prep for the next one, I think that's that sounds about right to me. And that means I'd be drawing it most. Next year will be a drawing year, just like this year was, or not this year, 2022 was sort of a drawing year. I think next year will be a drawing year. I think that's basically how this is going to go until I get this number 6 done. Is there'll be a year of research and writing, a year of drawing, a year of research and writing, a year of drawing. Probably how it's going to go. So 2023. Let's see here. Okay, I haven't been watching. Let's see. Let me scroll back. Yeah. I have a friend who was the next D versus M is set in 2001. I have a good friend who was in the Marines. What year would that have been? See, it was about 10 years before, but I can't imagine, in terms of like vocabulary, I can't imagine much would have changed between like 1990 and 2000. But he's probably the one that I'm going to hit up and just like have him do a once over. Like, how does this sound? Or could you have any suggestions in terms of how these people would talk? I'm also like, I've been kind of immersed. I've been reading, I've already started the research. This is something I talked about, by the way, Making Comics, that podcast. Last week, or about a week and a half ago, the holiday episode came out where we're just talking about our week and then talking about Christmas related stuff. The previous episode, the one that's out right now, the most current one that's out right now, was our year in review. And we were talking about favorite comic we read that year, favorite comic artist. Someone's honking outside. I don't know if you heard that. Favorite movie you saw, favorite TV show you watched, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My favorite comic of the year was Invisible Wounds. It's by Jess. I always stumble over her name. Rolifson. I don't know why that name can't stick in my head. I always have to check it. Anyway, she collected a bunch of accounts of soldiers who had been overseas. They'd done their service. They fought, came back, and they're trying to transition back to normal everyday life and the challenges with that. And firstly, I got it because I'm just a sucker for Fantagraphics. I'm a sucker for like more dramatic, more character-focused work. I mean, that's why D vs. Zem is, I think, dramatic and character-focused. But also, I got it for homework because I'm in the process right now, even though I don't have a ton of time, when I do have a little bit of time, trying to start to immerse and line up books to read about soldiers and the experience of being a soldier and all that. So I have a good, again, it's fertilizing. I have good composted material for when I go to really start writing these characters in D vs. M4. I really want a good feel for like what that story is like, because I've never been in the service. And my dad was in the service, but this is Vietnam. It was a long time ago, and that can be useful. But more contemporary would be, that's something I need, which is part of why I picked this up. But anyway, yeah, this was my comic of the year. It's really good, really, really interesting. Not my favorite art. Like the art is, but the writing and the stories are really good. Excellent. Yeah, I still picture you as one of the guys. So it's possible. I mean, look, this is something that I'll figure out. This is what I can. Oh, I can't tell you that yet, actually. Or I can't tell you, like the collective you out there, that. Josh, you probably, of course, anyone I'm asking to lend their likeness to the book, I usually let them read the script. Or at least read their parts so they know. Because that would be awful. I mean, this wouldn't happen with D vs. Zem, but someone's like, yeah, I'll be in it, and something, they're like a horrendous person, or they do something horrible, or something horrible happens to them that they're uncomfortable with it. Like, I at least say, like, this is your character. This is like what's going to happen roughly. And like, it goes sort of like this. I at least walk through like the basic arc for this person. If not, give the person the script to read. I will say this, being a D vs. M usually never goes well for anybody in them. Like D vs. M is in a way about a life-altering day in someone's life, and dealing with soldiers, dealing with like the scenario I have, the plot for D vs. M4. Most of the characters in it, it's going to be for all of them, it's going to be a bad day. It's going to be a bad couple days, but some it's going to be much worse than others. I haven't nailed down yet which category your character falls into, but I will I will take into account that you are open to your character meeting a bad end. Saying hi to Dee Dee. That's good. I'm excited about that too. I missed your streams too. I though, especially at this point where I'm like fried, I would never ask anyone to overextend themselves or do more than they're up for. But it's always nice when I do see one. It's nice to at least have it playing while I work. It makes you feel like, again, what I was talking about before. I think art at its best, it's when you feel like you're participating in capital A, collective art, all these things, books and poems and dances and music and movies and shows and all these things, and you feel like I want to add my thing to the pile. It helps me orient that way when I'm hearing my other friends working on something. It makes you feel like, okay, we're all doing this thing. But Squatch saw the Squatch signal. I don't need any furry references. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. No, I don't think any of this is spoilery. D vs. M 4. What do I want to say? It's a SEAL Team 6 type thing, but it's a D versus M equivalent of that. So these are specialists, like operators who are obviously, they've been in the Dinosaur Martian War. So they've been, while a lot of their friends who might have enlisted at the same time of them have been off in the Middle East and doing things like that, they were folded into this weird black op thing where they've been traveling, dealing with the alien threat, and also they've been getting some dinosaur experience. I'm not going to tell you exactly. I would tell you, but not publicly. I'm not ready to talk about what exactly the plot of D vs. M 4 is. But suffice it to say, it's soldiers in the forest on a mission. They have an assignment, and that's all I can talk about publicly right now. I'll tell you whatever you want to know about it, especially since you might be a character in it. But the Space Odyssey one is D vs. M5, which in my notes in my folder on my desktop, I nicknamed them all, even though there's a year associated with each one. I nicknamed them so I remember exactly, like, that's that one. That's the one that I have alternately nicknamed D vs. M Cosmic or D vs. M Odyssey, ironically enough, because it's about a long journey. So yeah, 5 will be my space one. 5 will be the one where I really get to go a little crazy with the drawing and the writing and everything. Just to give a hint, with D vs. M is always going to be, and that one included, very gritty, very down to earth, very much like this individual person's experience. Most of them, though, are very close focused. Like this thing that happened here, usually in Arizona, over a course of a few hours or days. This is the only one, though, where just to give it like that shift of like we're backing way up and giving you just a peek at the bigger picture that you're getting a feel for in the D vs. M's. There must be stuff going on out there. There's more to this story, but it's hard to know like exactly what it is. That's the one that will kind of will wander into that territory and then wander right back for the conclusion. Anyway, someone let a furry in. Yes. Okay, well, what is it? Is it actually good, or is it, like, first of all, is this a documentary or like is it fiction? Oh. Dee Dee, you might, forgive the expression, you might get drafted. I might have to pick your brain a little bit when it comes time. I'm going to remember that. Oh, thank you, Josh. Yeah. It was tough. It was tough. So the making comics thing, by the way, Jim also is like, how did you not name me as your favorite artist? And I told him the same thing. Friends are disqualified from the best of, because it also came up in the show, like favorite podcast. And honestly, my favorite podcast probably is Making Comics. I look forward to listening to it each week. I always download it day one when a new one's available. But we just to make it so there's no weirdness. It's like, okay, no one can pick anybody. No. Outside of our friends and immediate circle, what are your favorites? The Jacob's Apartment would be up there. Honestly, I don't know. I like Jacob's Apartment a lot. I like Two Stories better. I hope that doesn't, it's not that one's better or worse, of course. But in terms of my like preference, my art taste, like, and the story I'm like, but I'm like you, and it's the reason you're doing Two Stories. I like autobio. Like I like, I'm always more, that's part of why Invisible Wounds won for my comic of the year, because these are all like true accounts. I'm a sucker for that. So I think that's why, like, I love them both. But if I had to pick, I think Two Stories. But yeah, so for those who missed it, Making Comics, we recorded the holiday one and the year-end one back to back. And Making Comics, they always have a beer during it. And they picked out a beer. They wanted us for the holiday one to all drink this Trader Joe's tiramisu beer, which is like it was like a pint and a half or something. It was this giant thing, and it was 8%, like not super strong, but a lot when you're having that much. Drank that in the first one, and then immediately recorded the year-end one. So we're already buzzed, and then we're opening a new beer. So we, all three of us, Keith and Scott and myself, we're downloading the pod the day just to listen back to like, how sloppy were we? Like, did we make sense? Did we say anything stupid? We were all relieved that we were pretty coherent, but it was rough. That wasn't ideal. Wasn't ideal for me, who tries to like be clear with what I'm saying. Like it wasn't. Next time I'm picking low ABV beers, but let's see here. Terrifying. Yeah, it was strange to squeeze all that in. Yeah. You know what? Just name drop wherever you can. Jacob's Apartment. Once again, Jacob's Apartment. Best actress in a movie this year, Jacob's Apartment. I can almost guarantee that won't be it. Just on principle, it would be unseemly, Squatch, to have this super fan whose name I use in D versus M4 and make him sort of the hero of the story. That is just it's pandery. It's awful. If you actually should be worried, because that's almost the character that seems marked for like the first one to go. Yeah, I would never do that to someone, because anytime especially if it's going to look like them. Some people I change, like there's a couple characters in this one where you're not going to know who posed for it because I just changed it so much. But there are always some people who I stay very close. It looks like them. Like Jenny looks a lot like my friend Laura. Ruben's pretty different, but he looks a lot like my friend Jeremy. So if I'm keeping it close, I want to tell you like what you are doing in this book. Like, just so I don't want there to be any weird surprise about, because you never know. I mean, they're doing me a favor anyway, even though like I'll take you to lunch, and like usually if you're a a focal character like that, I'll just comp you a free book, and like. But you're doing me a huge favor. You're doing me it's a lot of work too. Like, I'm going to sit and take 100, 200 pictures of you doing different things, making different faces from different angles. I would never want anyone to come away and read it and be like upset or disappointed or annoyed or anything by something in there, So I will at least give someone who poses the kind of like an outline. This is your character. They're sort of like this. In this scene, you're doing this, and that scene, you're doing that. So they do this and this and this, and it ends up here. Cool. And then like, so you at least know that, or at most, like for a major character, like Laura, who posed for Jenny, she got the whole script. I just had her read it, and just so she knew exactly what she was going to see in the final product. I mean, Oh, now that I would be interested in. Wait, I'm gonna write that down. What? So it's on Tubi, you said? What is that one? Is that like I don't know if I know what that one is. Sasquatch Odyssey. I'm writing it down. This might be funny coming from someone who writes basically a conspiracy fiction comic. Not overly into conspiracies and pseudoscience and any of that stuff. I actually am generally kind of like turn my nose up to it, but I love me a Bigfoot story. I do. Like, if I'm a sucker for any of them, if there's any one that I really want to believe, it's the Bigfoot stuff. I love it. There will not be any Sasquatches in Divers Zem. I'm sorry to say. Oh, thanks. We had fun. You know what was funny? So that, by the way, is the reference for anyone who's House Rules Hodges. I went on a rant. I won't say what place it is, but Monopoly, of course, came up in the board game conversation. And I talked about my disdain / objection / revulsion / I'm trying to think of a stronger for house rules in Monopoly, because to me every example I can think of makes the game worse. And what's frustrating is people think it makes the game better. They love them, but then they'll see, and it's funny, after this, like Chris messaged me after we did the top 5 board games. And he said, you know what I want to see? I think on your YouTube, you should have a new little mini show that's called Don't Get Me Started, where you're just like ranting about things, because he really loves to hear me just get going, complaining about things. I don't want to do that. There's enough negativity on the internet, and I don't want to, that's unlike the art thing where I want to participate in this bigger thing. I don't want to participate in the, like just criticizing things on the internet. But I went off on house rules for Monopoly because this is my thing. I love Monopoly. I'm not going to tell. I don't want to spoil it in case you'd like to watch the top 5, but you'll find it on my channel. It's in the live section, and I think I filed it in the top 5 playlist. We did Jim, Luhan, Chris Ward, and I did our top 5 board games of all time. Each of us, our favorites, not the best, our favorites. And Monopoly. I'm not going to say which place, but it ranked high in mine. And one of the things that breaks my heart and endlessly infuriates me about Monopoly is there are so many people who have complaints about the game. Like, they hate it. They hate Monopoly, or they don't, maybe they don't hate it, but they don't love it for reasons that are directly attributable to their dumbass house rules. And if they weren't playing with the house rules, their biggest objection to Monopoly is eliminated. For example, like this is the one, free parking. Everyone knows the free parking house rule. If like there's, you get a, you know, pay $10 to whatever, or you do you land on the tax spot where you have to pay whatever it is, like, is it like $150 or 10%, something like that? I don't know. But anytime you have to pay something rather than other than to another landlord, to another player, when you have to pay something, rather than go to the bank, the house rule is you throw it in the middle, and whoever lands on free parking gets that pile of cash that's accumulated. Everybody plays that way. Lots of people think that's actually in the rules. They think that's like how you play. They'll do this, and then they'll complain about the fact that Monopoly it takes too long. It's like hours and hours. It's going to take all night. It's taking all night because the object of the game is to drive people into bankruptcy. The game ends when people start, all but one person has gone bankrupt. If you're injecting more money into play, all you're doing now is making the game longer and longer and longer. And so when someone is like, oh, Monopoly sucks. It's like a 5-hour game, but I love playing with free parking though. Like it triggers me. It's like, you broke the game and now you're complaining that it's broken. You know, if you play by the rule, this is the last I'm going to say about it. If you want to hear the full rant about house rules, go watch Top 5 Board Games. If you play Monopoly by the rules, I promise you, the game lasts like an hour or two. It is not a long game. People will start going out almost immediately. Like it's kind of a bloodthirsty game. The other thing, and also not just house rules breaking the game, not doing things that are in the rules that speed it up. Another example, if you land on let's say you land on a property on the first or second go around the board. You don't have any money. You can't buy it, but it's for sale. It's supposed to go up to auction per the rules. So you land on whatever, Marvin Gardens, and you can't afford it. And it normally goes, I forgot what Marvin Gardens is. I think it's like a $200 property, $300 property, something like that. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've played, but you can't afford it. You bought all the other things along the way, and now you're just trying to get $200 more. It goes up for auction, and all the players on the banker auctions it off. And so someone might get it for like $10 because nobody else has money. What that means is within 1 or 2 turns, like all the properties are bought. There are no unavailable properties left. So, and as a result, everybody's spent. You can have people going bankrupt on like the 3rd turn because they overextended. They bought everything up, then they land someplace, they mortgage everything, they still can't cover it, they're out. Like, again, Monopoly should be like an hour, 2 hours. It goes fast. If you're playing for 6 hours, something's wrong. You're all drunk, or someone can't do math, or you're using janky house rules that break the game. Okay, that's it. That's done. I can't. But anyway, Top 5 Board Games was a lot of fun. And I was relieved because I grew up in a big game house, as maybe you could tell my screed about Monopoly, where we played board games very seriously and a lot of the classics. And I learned to play board games with grown-ups. So it was my parents and my grandparents. Jim and Chris were playing board games with their friends as kids. So their favorites of all time were a lot of like kid games, and mine are like a lot of the big classics. And it was good because I expected going into it, we're all going to pick the same ones. It's all going to be like, it's all just going to be about where we're ranking them. But everyone's going to pick Scrabble. Everyone's going to pick Trivial Pursuit, like whatever. And that wasn't really the case. Because like Chris is playing these weird, wacky games he used to play with his brother. And like Jim's playing these games he used to play with friends, like when they were kids. Where I'm playing all these kind of more classic games because I was playing with my grandparents. It was fun. It was a good episode. But Risk is fun. I like Risk a lot, especially again if you're playing like online and it's automating all the die rolls and the piece management. It's fun. Why are you feeding the furry thing with Squatch? You're giving him material. Do you have a Bigfoot story? I don't know if you have. Oh, look at you! We got to play Risk sometime. And Josh, because Risk is better with more people. Like I actually said in the board game video, like playing Risk 2-player, in my opinion, like it's not great. Like more people is better because it makes it a little more. There's way more plates to spin. Thinking about if I overextend myself taking this, like that guy, like I might be able to beat this guy, but then now that guy can swoop in. One of my favorite things to do against inexperienced Risk players is let them just sort of bleed each other and then just move in and clean up. Like it's just, you just kind of sit back and amass an army, just kind of just stay out of people's way, let them sort of scrape and then just move in. And yeah, that's a bit, it's more fun with more people. Bullshit meter's going off. Yes. Yeah, that is true. I think as much as house rules break Monopoly, house rules also, I think, make less devoted Monopoly players play. I get why people like house rules. It's like winning the lottery. You know, it's odd. Like you're going around and you have $30 and you're terrified you're going to land on some spot, or you have a Monopoly but you can't build the houses to really make this property work or whatever, Monopoly work. And then suddenly this windfall, you have $600, boom. Like it's very exciting. Again, looking at the game theory of it, you were on the ropes and now you're back in it. You being on the ropes, even though that's not a great feeling, means like maybe this game could end at any moment and now you're in it. Or and something I pointed out in the thing, it takes someone who might have won, like they were doing well, and now gives them this insurmountable lead because you're suddenly given them this injection of cash where you could have been competitive before, but now they won the lottery and they're like building hotels, you know, and like you didn't have the luxury of this windfall of cash. So now you're just screwed. That's another way to rage quit, but you know, is just you're playing and someone has a pretty good Monopoly or two and they have an edge, but you're still in it. And now suddenly like free parking, here's $1,000. And now they're like, okay, I'm unmortgaging all this and I'm going to build houses. So how many houses can I buy? And they're spending 15 minutes, like, you know, buying all this shit to build everything up to murder you. Like, that's not fun for anybody. Like, you want to feel like you're, I don't know. It's anyway. Look, it's called respect for the game designer. These games are designed to work a certain way, to work best a certain way. And they tell you how it works with rules. This is how you play. We built the game to play it like this. And so then people, I don't understand. It's worse than this, but it's like you go and pick up Dark Side of the Moon, which is meant to be listened to beginning and end, and you hit shuffle. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're ruining the thing that was made to be experienced a certain way. You're saying like, nah, not for me. I'm going to drive my car backwards. What are you doing? Anyway, don't get me started. Everyone, I'm picturing fur coats like in Seinfeld on a coat rack. When you come in, you have to, before you can sit down. Yeah, playing with bots can be fun because they behave weird, and there's an unpredictability. Usually with people, you start to get a feel of like what probably they're going to do, or at least what they're trying to do. But then, yeah, the bots will be strange. I'm telling you, I'm a purist, Dee Dee. I like to enjoy work as it was intended, and that includes games. Like, that's how am I supposed to be doing it? It's like, I don't know, can you imagine for any of the retro gamers here, someone had heard about Contra on the Nintendo their whole life, and they're like, yeah, I want to play that, I want to play that, and they load it up, and they enter the Game Genie code to be invincible. Like, what are you doing? That's not the game. Contra is the terror of getting hit by a stray bullet. It's not just storming ahead, just shooting and not worrying about just looking at backgrounds. Like, you're not playing. You're not playing the game. That's another episode of Don't Get Me Started. I'm not taking the bait on this. The Last Jedi is my second favorite Star Wars movie of all time. And, you know, but I'm not gonna, it's well litigated. I'm not gonna go back there. Okay, so what? It's been an hour and 40 minutes. That's pretty respectable. I need to, first, I haven't eaten today. I just had coffee. So I'm going to make myself something to eat, and then I'm going to start my page 47, which will not take me a full week to draw. It's for reasons, for spoilery reasons. It's fairly simple. So my hope next time we talk, which I think I'll probably switch back to Saturday morning, starting 2023. It had shifted kind of to Sundays. I think Saturday morning, I will have already started, and this is where I'm going to get slippery about numbers because of weird reasons that people might understand when they read the book, but I can't really get into it. The numbering gets a little strange after this. This is also why I've been a little fuzzy about like how many pages is it. It's complicated. But so 47, I'll be starting today. I will finish 47 this week. I might even, if things go well, I could even imagine finishing in the next few days, and then I'll get a jump on the next page. So the next time we talk, I will probably be well into that page. This is my opportunity to maybe get ahead a week, which would be great. If for no other reason, then I don't think the on sale date would change regardless. I think on sale date will probably be March 31. But what it does, it allows me more time to really sit and proofread, to maybe pass it in front of other people, to make little fussy changes I want to make. Like, it allows me just to nurse it a little bit more, which I would like. That would feel good. No, don't trigger me. Don't talk about Last Jedi. Last Jedi is great. Most interesting version of Luke Skywalker in probably any of the movies. What do you think of that? Happy New Year, buddy. I hope you have a good one. All right. Yeah, so that's the plan. I'll be midway into the next page, or some, I don't know, midway, but some part in the way, in the process of the next page. Next time we talk, probably Saturday morning. And then, very shortly after that, once I finish that page, that's when I'll be to single-digit pages left to draw, which is pretty cool. It's cool to finally get there. It's crazy when you look at this. Like when I look at, you know, my cheat sheet and with my page plan and what I need to draw, let me just, so each one of these represents a spread, okay? So I drew all this. I'm somewhere in here now. And that's all that's left. Like it's, you know, most of this is done. Most of it, I mean, it's obviously, but I mean, like there's a huge pile of work. There's a huge pile of finished pages, and I don't even know what percentage wise I'm through, but I'm like well past, you know, well past 3/4 at this point, I'm assuming. I'm not starting. I'm refusing to start because it's a silly conversation, because The Last Jedi was great. And Rian Johnson is a national treasure. And Glass Onion is a lot of fun. So I saw it in the theater and watched it again last night on Netflix. Because it's one of those movies, these like murder mystery type movies. It's fun to, once you know like how it goes, it's kind of fun to rewatch. Glass Onion is really fun. I do think Knives Out is better in terms of, I think the script is just a little tighter. And to me, and I'll rewatch Knives Out again probably just to see if I still feel this way, but that script is not only so cleverly written, it's bulletproof. I see no little holes, or not even holes, but not even a little like, but why wouldn't, you know, none of that. It is like when you finally know like the story for Knives Out, when you go back and watch it, it's like, this is like, it's kind of crazy how perfect it is. Okay. Glass Onion, to me, there are still, so again, watched it for the second time last night. It's a lot of fun to watch, and it has a lot of like things about it to like, the same things I liked about Knives Out, but there are still some parts that I think upon reflection, like once you know everything and you go and watch it again, most of it still works, but there are some parts it's like, that doesn't really make sense. I feel like it's just, my impression is that there's some cheats in there that aren't in Knives Out. But that said, a lot of fun to watch. It's a fun movie. Daniel Craig is awesome. And that Janelle Monáe is in it, and I didn't know she was much of an actress, and I kind of went in with no expectations from her because I figured like, oh, she's like a, you know, a musician, like she'll be fine. She's really good, really, really good, really funny. Does a really good job. So it's great. It's great cast. Dave Bautista is awesome. Like it's just, I don't know, it's a lot of fun to watch. Settle down. Just settle down. So Glass Onion, Netflix now, worth watching. What I am going to try and squeeze in, this will be one last trigger for Squatch before we go. For me, since we're still sort of, I consider this still holiday season. I mentioned this, I think, on the holiday episode of Making Comics. Something I've wanted to do this year. To me, we had a name a holiday tradition that has nothing to do with the holidays. Like, what is a holiday tradition of yours? Something you like to do, something that you associate with the holidays, but on paper has nothing to do with the holidays. And my example was the Lord of the Rings movies. Because when they came out, I was all about them when they came out. I was very excited when they were coming out. I was a big Tolkien nerd. And I was always there like opening weekend each time. And they always opened in December for 3 years in a row, one after another. And that was just enough to kind of link them to Christmas in my brain. because I was always seeing Lord of the Rings movies around Christmas for 3 years. That's something I haven't rewatched the Lord of the Rings movies in years. I do really love them. I think this is so here I can't believe I'm saying this as a Star Wars fan. I don't know if there's a more consistently high quality trilogy out there. Like I feel like each one of those Lord of the Rings movies is not only great, like similar level great. Like really, like they all three kill it. Where even though I'm a Star Wars fan, born and bred, I think that they're very inconsistent. Like you know, I can love them all. I love all the original trilogy, but they kind of go, you know, they're varying. Like it just even in terms of budget, like you know, A New Hope just doesn't look as good as the other ones, or whatever, you know. So where the Lord of the Rings movies, it's sort of like these are all just awesome and like equally awesome and very consistent and very strong, and you don't really see any like weird weak links or gaps or oh, there's this one part though that doesn't really like. They're just very very good. I'm looking forward to rewatching them. So I'm going to try what I'm hoping to do over the next 3 days is watch a Lord of the Rings movie a day. That's a big thing. And that's why it might be triggering to Squatch, because that's like 3 hours a day of not working on comic. But you know what? We're heading into the finish line. We're shutting down. We're in the cleanup. We're at the closing procedure now of drawing a comic, and time to start. This is a good setting the tone for my year of media consumption. Rewatch Lord of the Rings. What do we got here? Yeah, they're great. They're just so good, you know? And what's funny is like it's one of those movies, or they're one of those kinds of movies where you're sort of embarrassed it's working. Like some of it is so melodramatic and so cheesy and so like, you know, the music swells and Frodo looks like he's going to cry because Sam is so nice. And it's so on its paper, it's sort of like this shouldn't work. Like I should be rolling my eyes, but I'm not. I'm like totally in it. I love it. Totally love it. You know, every part of it. It's just so good. So anyway. He's not Squad. He's a great guy. I love him. Disagree. Okay, I'm gonna go. I will see you all Saturday, January. What is Saturday? January 7th, which is actually my birthday. That's fine. And hopefully I'm you know, you're the guys talking about Last Jedi, not me. I didn't bring it up, and you continue to bring it up. It's the second best Star Wars movie. Second best. Empire is unassailable. Empire is the top. Empire is kind of a perfect movie as far as I'm concerned. Like it's the only Star Wars movie I can watch where it's like you just don't touch this. This is perfect. Perfect how it is. Does everything right. Has the balance of everything. It's a little funny. You have like it's a little sexy with Han and Leia. It's a little like weird and mystical with like Dagobah stuff. You've got the duel in it. You've got the Hoth battle. It has everything you'd want from a Star Wars movie. It's perfect. Every other Star Wars movie, there's something about it that, to me at least, personally, my taste, doesn't quite work, doesn't quite hit, doesn't quite land. It's just not, you know, there's room for improvement. Empire is just It's perfect. It's perfect. But second best is The Last Jedi. Look. Oh my God. I'm smiling. Look. Please stop. Look. The Yoda Luke moment is the key to understanding that whole movie. I was frustrated talking to friends who were like, I don't even understand what it's about. It's laid out exactly what it's about. It's about failure. It's about falling short. It's about being weak. It's about not living up, not being able to do the thing, not being able to be the person you want to be. Like, whatever. That's what the movie's about. And when you look at it, every character in that movie, with the possible exception of Leia, that's their journey. All their journeys are falling short. It's just like Empire was. Last Jedi is a loss movie. It's a movie about not going the way you hoped it went, and not because necessarily there were external obstacles, because there were internal obstacles. Like it didn't happen because you couldn't make it happen. And that's why when Yoda's talking about failure being instructive, failure being the greatest teacher of all, failure being the lesson, like that's the heart of that movie, is that Yoda Luke scene. Okay, that's it. We're not talking about Last Jedi anymore. This is your guys' fault. I was fine. I've said everything I need to say about Last Jedi over years. Like, there's nothing left to say about it. There's the Homer Simpson reveal at the end as well. What am I thinking? What is this referencing? I don't know. Fu is just, his resolution for 2023 was to drive Squatch insane, which is a very attainable goal. It's a short trip. Mary Jackson, I'm glad it's not my fault. It's not my fault. They brought it up. I didn't bring it up. They're always bringing it up, with the exception of Andor. Sometimes it's like, hey, watched Andor, it was great. But now, like that, it's them. It's them. Yes. Well, that's why they froze them. They weren't sure if they were going to be able to get them back. So they froze them in carbonite, thinking like that might be it. And then he wanted to die at the end of Jedi. And they denied him. So I think his condition for coming back in Force Awakens was like, you have to kill me this time. Seriously. Like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm fucking over it. Give me a pile of money and kill me. That's the deal. And that's what they did. I know a lot of people, Han Solo, we're doing it again. For a lot of people, Han Solo is their favorite character, and they didn't want to see him go out like that. I thought that was a very honest treatment of that character. The idea that him and Leia were going to end up with a white picket fence and married happily ever after is fucking crazy. Like, that's a weird, that to me is like, you don't understand this character the way you think you do. Rewatch the Solo stuff in the old movies. Like, this guy's, he's charming. He's got swagger. He can be brave. He's very cool. He's also a fucking idiot. Like, you know, he's not going to be able to pull it together. He's not going to be able to be married to a princess. Are you out of your mind? Anyway. Yes. No, it was almost like kind of Zen. It was like this, it was very much like, if you meet the Buddha in the road, you should kill him. Like, it was very much like, why are you hung up on this weird, anyway. Oh, that's right. I do remember that. Yeah. He was doing so good. I was. It's Fu's fault. No, he shouldn't get a, I mean, a happy ending maybe, but not the one that I think there are a lot of weird fan fiction stories about, like, you know, Leia and Han going on like vacations in the Bahamas, and it's like that's not in the cards for them. I don't know. Their relationship is based on attraction and them being sort of different from each other. There's not a real love there. This is something you'll learn when you're old enough to be disillusioned like Luke. There's nothing real, there's not a real basis for a relationship there. Mostly because Han's a fuck up. A charming, adorable fuck up, but a fuck up. And the idea that you're going to get married and somehow not be a fuck up anymore, ask your divorced friends if that's the case. Anyway. There you go. That's it. That's it right there. He gets it. By the way, I still have to get you on. I would like to have you on sometime. Talk about writing. Okay, that's it. We're at 2 hours. I'm out of here. I gotta eat something and start drawing my page. So I will see you guys next week. Probably Saturday. Probably my birthday. Feel free to PayPal me a money gift. I don't want anything. I'm just kidding. Don't do it. Okay. Talk to you guys later.